Welcome to the channel. Whether you're a new viewer, a subscriber, or an original outlaw, come on in. Maybe you came across this, you were looking for chicken coop and you just stumbled across this video. And in this video, what I'm going to be doing is assembling the Producer's Pride Sentinel Chicken Coop. This will be the second one that we've purchased. My daughter recently moved out and we gave that to her so she could raise her own chickens. We just got some new baby chicks and they're starting to outgrow their brooding box, and they're too small to introduce to the large flock. So we're going to put this together. I'm going to show you a small modification that I did to it to make it even safer from predators. That'll give them a chance to get a little bigger before we introduce them to the big flock. Let's get into it. You can definitely see in no time these little guys are going to get just too big for this little brooding area that we have for them. So it's definitely time to build that new coop and get them in there. We were out shopping for feed one day at Tractor Supply and was looking at chicken coops because we knew eventually we'd have to do something. So we came across the same coop and it was on sale, 20% off. At the date of the making of this video, we were able to purchase it for $319 through Tractor Supply. Before we open the box up, let's check out some of the features. It says it can accommodate up to 6 chickens, but based on our experience, I wouldn't put any more than 3 full-grown hens in here. That'll give them plenty of room. If you put 6 chickens in there, 5 chickens, it'll be a little crowded. Looking here, we can see it has a steel frame with powder-coated finish, predator-resistant latches, easy-to-clean metal slide-out tray, pre-drilled holes for easy assembly, steel frame doors that won't sag over time, access doors on both sides of the coop. That's pretty handy. We've been able to use those with the other coop, and that made things a lot easier. It's got an elevated roosting bar and heavy-duty wire mesh. And the dimensions, in case anybody's interested, it's 76 inches long by 40.43 inches wide and 48 inches in height. The other thing I noticed is that they've added this ventilation right here to it. Ventilation is extremely important when you have chickens in a coop. The first coop made by the same company didn't have this, so this is a great feature. Checking this out, you could see that they had it for $3.99 and they had additional 20% off of that, so that made it about $319. That was a pretty good deal for us, so we decided to jump on it. Here's a quick shot of the box before I open it up. It's been raining a little bit, so it got a little wet, but that's not going to hurt it one bit. So let me get the knife out and we'll get this thing opened up. All right, these are going to come in handy, so we'll go ahead and give these a quick review and see what we have to do to get this thing assembled. Not much has changed since the first one I built. It basically gives you what you'll need, the tools you'll need to put it together. The only thing that I've noticed is they've added this little ventilation here. Going through here, it's pretty self-explanatory. One thing I recommend is you lay out all your pieces and parts to ensure that you have everything you need and there's nothing missing from your box. So we'll go ahead and get these all laid out and see what we're working with. These aren't packaged the best, and this is made in China, just to be forthright with everybody. But the quality does seem to be there, and like I said, we've had really good luck with our first coop. And it is what it is. You may have to do some modifications to make it work for your situation. But the boxing is fairly sturdy. They do provide some styrofoam in here. So carefully go over all your parts, make sure that there's nothing damaged, and that they're all actually in the box. Now that we've got everything laid out and verified that all of our pieces are here, you can see there's quite a bit. I suggest laying it all out like this before you put it together. It makes it a lot easier. And all the pieces are individually numbered, so it makes it easy to put it together once you're following the directions. So we'll start with the first step. Now that we've verified that we have all the hardware that we need to get this thing assembled, we're going to start with step 1 by connecting the back of the nesting box to the side panel. I've got the supervisor Hank here. He's helping me put this together. And as I mentioned previously, all the parts are labeled. This is 1, and then we're going to go over here and look for number 2, which is right here, and we'll go ahead and get those put together. Here's my other supervisor, Mrs. Hummingbird. So we'll be taking 2 of these number 26 bolts, and we'll be joining these 2 pieces together. Another nice feature is that they come with these what they call nut certs, and these are threaded on the inside and press fit into the channel of the metal. It's a really sturdy fitting. You want to make sure that your holes are lined up. I'm going to start these by hand first so that I don't strip the threads, and I can make sure that they're lined up properly. So we'll get that one started. We'll come down here to the bottom. We'll go ahead and get that one started. It'll get easier as you get all these panels put on, because then it'll start to support itself. Now you can choose to use a screwdriver. I have a power driver. It'll make it a little easier for me to do that, but you have to be careful that when you use the power driver, you don't strip your threads out. I won't bore you with me screwing this whole thing together. If I run across an area that seems like it might be a challenge, I'll go ahead and film that. But I'm going to continue putting this together. It's really easy. You just follow the step-by-step instructions, and in no time you'll have this thing together. To save you a little time and frustration, these nuts, number 27, they're 10 millimeter. They tell you to use an adjustable crescent wrench, but I prefer to use an open-end box wrench. There's less slippage that way, and it'll make it easier when you're putting this together. It does make it a lot easier if you have 2 people to do this, but if you have long arms like I do, you can go ahead and reach down on this side and over on this side and put it together. So it is handy to have somebody on the inside and the outside when putting some of these together. Now that we've got the coop assembled, let's check it out and look at some of the features. The first one that is new from the last coop that we had, and I think is a great improvement, are these ventilation holes here. You can actually adjust these, close them and open them. And there's one on each side. It's got a rolled roofing on it. It seems like it'll hold up pretty good. The last coop we had is still working great. There's no leaks. When the wind blows, sometimes it may leak in a little bit here, but nothing to be worried about. Looking around here, this latch, you turn like this. It's a bit of a security latch. You can open it up and you can see it's got 3 areas for nesting. These hinges here help hold it open, which makes it easy when you're cleaning or collecting eggs. I'm also going to put a carabiner in here because we have raccoons and they can get into stuff pretty easily, so that'll just add a little bit more security to it. It's got a ridge cap here, which is raised up a little bit, that also helps with ventilation. Let's open this up here. Inside you can see there's a roosting bar. It's a bit small, and I'm going to make something a little bit bigger so that the chickens can easily rest and their feet aren't just cramped around like this. They can sit flat. It'll be a little more comfortable for them. Let's look here. And these latches, just like on my last one, I had to modify those a little bit because a raccoon could just hit it like that and be right in. So I'm going to have to do something about that. There's the ramp going inside. Let's look at it from this side. It does say predator resistant, but just like I said in the last video, it's not predator proof. We'll have to do something about that. Taking a look at it from this angle, you can see there's plenty of room underneath for them to run around and play during the day. And the same thing on this side. Another roof vent and another door that'll open up. Makes it really easy to clean. This tray here slides out from the other side so you could take it out and clean it. Now let's go over some of the modifications that I want to make to this coop to make it a little better and easier to maintain. I haven't secured this plastic strip along here, and what this strip is for is when it rains, it helps keep the moisture from dripping down into the egg collection box or the nesting box. These hinges are going to be one of the first things that I change out, just like I did with the last coop, and I made a video on that, so if you want to check that out, you're free to do that. I'm going to put piano hinges here, or one long one. And what that'll do is it'll add stability to this joint here, and it'll last a lot longer. These hinges are just pop riveted in, and eventually those will loosen up and maybe come apart. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to make a bigger perch for them to sit on. And as you can see, looking at the base of this, there's no bottom to it. So what that means is if a predator wanted to get in, all they'd have to do is dig right here and come right in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some pressure treated wood, build a box, and put some more material like this on the base of it. That way nothing could dig in. It'll raise this up off the ground so that the moisture can't rust this out. So I guess the next step is to head off to the store and get the supplies we need to make those modifications. Now that we picked up the supplies that we need from the store, I built this frame. It's made out of 2x6 by 8 feet pieces, 3 of them, of pressure treated wood. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this metal mesh here, it's 1/2 inch in size, and we're going to go ahead and secure it to the bottom of this using a stapler or a brad nailer. And you can also use galvanized roofing nails as long as it has a big wide head on it and it can get an edge on this, it'll hold it on just fine. Now some people may be asking what the measurements are. Each one of these is slightly different, so I suggest you measure your coop, the base of it, to ensure that you have a proper fit. But I'm going to go ahead and give you the measurements of this one that I built. That way you can get a rough idea of what you're going to need. So going across here, Lengthwise, it's 73 inches. And on this end, it's 36 3/4 inches. And like I said, go ahead and measure the base of yours just to make sure you get the right measurement and you're not wasting wood by making cuts that you don't need to. So let's go ahead and get this nailed on, and then the next step will be going ahead and putting the coop right on top of this frame. And what this will do is this wire on the bottom will prevent predators and rodents from digging in and getting under, because this doesn't have a bottom on it. The other thing that'll help is keeping the frame up off the ground where it's damp, and it could potentially promote rusting. Here's a quick shot after I've gotten it all stapled on there. You can usually get by with putting one every 6 to 8 inches and then maybe one in between. That way there's not enough room for any mice or rats or anything to get in under the wire. But now that this is all done, it's time to flip it over and put the coop on top. Now that we've got the coop assembled and it's in its location, before we put the dirt in, I wanted to go over some of the modifications that we did to make this thing last a lot longer and make it more comfortable for the girls. Okay, let's start at the base. As you saw before, I built this base and we tacked on some of the wire mesh on the inside to help keep the rodents from coming in. I also added these handles here to make it a little easier just in case we needed to move it. Moving up here, these door latches have always been kind of an issue because we have raccoons and they can easily just come in here like that and open it. But as you can see, it won't open now because what I did was I added these little loops here, poppered them in, and I use a carabiner to secure that. So that'll help make it a little bit more predator resistant. I put one also on this door. Looking inside here, I made this little base here so that it makes it easier for them to get up the ramp and go inside. Because we elevated it by putting it on this base, that meant that this was at too much of a steep angle and made it difficult for any chicken to get in there. I also made this tool right here out of just some wire that we had laying around. And what this does is it makes it a lot easier to open and close the door without actually going inside. So you could just push it like that and close it and go to the other side and push it the other way to open it. Looking inside, as I'd mentioned earlier, this roosting bar was just a little bit too small. And chickens aren't like birds. They don't want to sit there with their feet wrapped around something small like that. They prefer something like this. So this is almost the size of a 2x4, but not as thick. And what this will do is allow their feet to sit flat, and so they can go down and rest on this bar and be a lot more comfortable for them. Here's a shot of them both side by side. You can see the difference. It'll be a lot more comfortable for the girls to rest up here. Moving around to the nesting box, as I'd mentioned earlier, I replaced those smaller hinges with these piano hinges. I went with 2 stainless steel hinges. I wanted to get one the entire length, but they just didn't have it. Looking at the latch on the nesting box, I also added a carabiner here too, just for safety, because the raccoons, they could easily with their little hands just flip this around and be right in the nesting box. And also, a precaution for safety, they do have these stickers on here, but you want to keep your hands clear from this back side of this joint of this hinge, because it will for sure pinch you and make you bleed. And finally, taking a look at the other side here, I've also done the same thing just to add a little more security to make sure that the raccoons can't just flip this and open it and get in there and get to the chickens. So next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the dirt in here and we're gonna introduce the chickens. Also, what I did was I placed this close to the other coop so that the chicks can see the larger girls and they can get used to each other before they're finally introduced. Here's a quick shot of what I did to secure the coop to the base. I just used some decking screws, I drilled a hole through the frame and went right in. You don't need to use too many, this is just to hold it on the frame. So I put one in the back, I put one right here on the side, and another one on this side towards the front. And on the other opposite side, I did the same thing. That's enough to keep this thing secured on the base and it won't go anywhere. Now that we've got all the dirt in, so the girls can take their little dirt baths, the last thing we did was we blocked off the nesting box. Because they're young and they're not laying eggs yet, we didn't want them to get used to sleeping in here and pooping in here. So once they start laying eggs, then we'll go ahead and remove this barrier. That way, they'll be free to lay eggs in here and not poop and sleep. That'll save us a lot of cleanup and a lot of trouble later on. And now for the moment of truth. The ladies are going into their new home. So let's get this open. Come on, girls. There you go. Come on. Scary, huh? Go on. There you go. Come on. They want to go back in. Like, come on. Let's go. Come on out. I have to help you out. Oh, noisy, noisy. There you go. Last one. There you go. Now we can take a look inside the coop and check it out. It'll take them a while to get used to it, find out where the exit is. We put them inside first so that they could find their way out and remember how to get back in. Who's gonna be the first one out? Who's the bravest? Everybody made it out. Well, this concludes today's video on the Producer's Pride Sentinel Chicken Coop. I hope that you found the information useful, especially if you own this exact coop. You might be able to use some of the modifications that we did to make things a little easier. And as always, thanks for watching.